Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci is recovering at home after being hospitalized with the West Nile virus. He said he likely picked it up from a mosquito bite at his home in Washington. He is expected to make a full recovery. According to the CDC, only around 20% of people infected with West Nile show symptoms, including fever, chills, and fatigue. Meantime, a rising risk on the East Coast that is ruining peak summer plans, shutting down entire communities. Infected mosquitoes are spreading a rare but serious disease called Eastern equine encephalitis, known as Triple E. Symptoms can include fever, headache, and seizures, with some of the infected developing long-term neurological issues. And now Massachusetts officials are issuing a health alert after the state recorded its first human case in 4 years. In total, 10 communities are at risk, with these 4 towns considered critical. Officials there urging people to adhere to an early evening curfew, asking them to stay indoors when mosquitoes are most active. I would like to welcome in now Dr. Catherine Brown, an epidemiologist in Massachusetts. Dr. Brown, thank you so much for your time. First of all, are you surprised that at least one Massachusetts town there has decided to close its parks and fields each evening, all in response to this Triple E threat?
No, absolutely not. When we have Triple E in Massachusetts, and unfortunately we have sort of long experience with it, there are a number of public health recommendations that we make to help protect people. And so they include things that you're used to, like using repellent, making sure that you're using long sleeves and long pants, assuming it's not 100 degrees, to reduce exposed skin. But one of the other things that we recommend is in these areas of really high risk from Triple E, we recommend that people reschedule their outdoor activity to avoid the hours between dusk and dawn. So just make sure that you shift your activity to the daytime hours.
And Dr. Brown, I moved here. I worked at a Boston television station before this. So I know how many trees are there in Massachusetts. I know how much water is there. How serious can it be if someone is to contract or were to contract Triple E?
Yeah, Triple E is fortunately very rare, but it is very severe for the individuals who contract the disease. And in Massachusetts, over time, we see that depending on the outbreak, we can see between 30 and 50% of people actually pass away from the disease. And that's in addition to the statistic you quoted earlier about survivors who are often left with neurologic disability.
And Dr. Brown, I'd like to switch gears a little bit. We mentioned this at the top, how former, top U.S. infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci was hospitalized. I mean, he's now out of the hospital. He is recovering at home, but, he contracted West Nile virus. First of all, what was your reaction to that? Were you surprised?
So one, I just want to say I'm delighted that the reports are that he's recovering and that I hope he leaves this behind him very quickly. I'm not really surprised, right? Mosquitoes are, I'll talk about here in Massachusetts, they're part of our summer. They're around everywhere. And so I think this just illustrates that the risk from mosquito-borne illness, either West Nile virus or Triple E, is real, and it really can happen to anyone. And I hope that actually is an impetus for people to take the steps that they should to help prevent mosquito bites.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, it truly can happen to anyone. Last question for you, Dr. Brown, and I know you mentioned this a bit, but there is this recommendation for people to stay indoors after dark or at dusk when, mosquitoes are most active, but not everyone can do that. So what is your advice for the people who are not able to stay inside?
Yeah, I mean, if for some reason you're not really able to, what I want to remind people is that our recommendations are a layered prevention strategy, right? So make sure that you're using mosquito repellents with an EPA-registered active ingredient anytime you're outdoors. Use clothing to reduce exposed skin. And then this won't help so much for Triple E, but it does for West Nile virus. Make sure you're dumping standing water around around your property because mosquitoes will use that water to breed. So do the other things that you can to help prevent those mosquito bites.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.